Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. This is a response to Keith again, and that is on the biblical mockery and the issue of Yahya Snow, highlighting the foul mouth of Sam Shamoun, and then Keith trying to justify the foul mouth of Sam Shamoun from the Bible. Now, I'm just gonna start with this little quote here from Psalms 92. The stupid man cannot know, the fool cannot understand this. Because Keith put it up, so I think it's just nice to, it's a nice quote, and I think that can apply to him as well, even though he's directing it towards me. So let's get back into it. And basically, I want to make the distinction between what Keith calls sharply rebuking someone versus direct insult. Yes, sharply rebuking and many things sometimes are warranted, no doubt, depending on the position of that person who's attacking and so on and so forth. It is part of, for example, scholarship sometimes that you basically are strong against your opponent and you basically debase them. However, what Keith is defending here is a foul mouth of a person called Sam Shamoun, insulting people directly and calling them different names, trying to incite them to go and debate with him or to, just to basically fulfill his egotistic ideologies. So Keith is trying to prove from the Bible that Sam is, again, justified in doing that. And he's gonna try to push also the fact that Muhammad cursed an orphan girl, and look what an example you have in the Prophet, and you should follow that. So don't come and tell me, that I cannot curse and so on and so forth when your Prophet did that. And then he's gonna basically quote a hadith from Bukhari and from the Sahih, which we will actually look at, and that is from Sahih Muslim. Sorry, and then he's trying to prove basically, and he's saying that I'm not even listening to what he's saying. I'm not really paying attention to his videos, but I would say that he doesn't pay attention. He doesn't pay attention. He doesn't answer to what I say. Again, I call them on a certain double standard, right? I say, listen, just because the prophets are doing something, because God does something, did that give you the license to do, for example? And I want to make, again, the distinction between what so-called prophets of God in the Old Testament do, how they talk to people, and the foul mouth of Sam. Does he really follow that? People who know Sam would resoundingly say no. And Keith, you have to know that on the same videos, there's comments from Christians who are actually debating now and saying that this is not the way to go within Christianity, right? Righteous, so-called righteous, Christians or so-called righteous people who are making a stand. They're saying, no, see, Keith and Sam, this is not the right way to go. This is not the right way to represent Jesus. So big difference between sharply rebuking someone and directly insulting them and using foul language, which Yahya was highlighting, which again, of course, resulted him in being shot back at by you and Sam. So again, I want to ask you about a certain double standard that I highlighted in my previous video. Fine, you want to prove from the Bible, and I give you the extra point here that you were trying to prove from the Bible such active acts of Sam. So again, what gives you the ability to do that, to insult using the prophet's example and God's example in the Old Testament? That certain people attack your faith or so on, deserve such treatment. And the fact that certain prophets in the Old Testament and God destroyed certain people who attacked their faith, killed them, enslaved them, and so on and so forth. So do you agree with that? I'm asking you again, do you agree that sometimes, in certain cases, so-called, jihad, as guys always bring it up, the missionaries, is warranted? Do you agree to that? I want to ask you, just based on the Bible, based on what your faith is, do you agree with that? Or do you make your own brain, being God? Indirectly, I'm not saying you claim that, but indirectly, do you make yourself and Sam God as you pick and choose and you make your faith what you want it to be? And you say, well, look, in this example, the prophets did so and so, so therefore I can do it. But then I call you and say, wait a second, what about fighting? What about killing? What about enslaving? Can you, basically, do you agree to that? Just because the prophets did it? Or there's some proof or something that you would say, no, I can't do it. Alright? And that's just a question for you. Then you basically play a child's game. And again, this is just, I'm not insulting you. This is just rebuking you. Alright? You're just playing a child's game. You say, well, look at what Nadir said. Look at what this guy said. Look at what this guy said. Of course, it gives me the right to, and Sam gives the right to him for him to be foul-mouthed. Well, that's fine. And basically, you're quoting here this verse, answer fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eye. So basically, if Nadir and these guys are using the F word and these bad words, then are you supposed to also use bad words and bad fama? And then are you supposed to also use it with Yahya and myself? Because according to this, okay, fine, if someone's talking like a fool, then you should answer him the same way. But I never insulted you. I never used bad words against you. Yahya never used bad words against you. That is such a weak attempt that you're saying, oh, look, he called this thing pagan, therefore he deserves, rebuking and insulting. Well, you can call him back a pagan, but not, the insults that you've thrown, well, Sam has thrown at me and Yahya. That's just ridiculous. Okay, and this is a very general statement, and again, what is your specific statement that would allow you to speak like that to anyone, right? Now you're talking about bringing Nadir in and Sammy and this and that. Listen, yes, those people, if they're talking like that, I didn't check with them. I don't know, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna just trust a certain, display of certain emails. But if they did that, then that is not the right way to do, and they should, not say that, because Prophet ﷺ didn't speak like that, and they should follow that example of how he dealt with people. Now, on the same, so yes, I do stand against them and on this manner that they shouldn't speak like that, and I rebuke them that they shouldn't speak like that, and they should ask Allah for forgiveness on speaking like that, even amongst themselves and calling each other kafir and this and that. And Allah knows best on these things. So yes, are you satisfied? Now again, I'll go back to you. You're basically saying, well, look at the Prophet, your Prophet Muhammad, look at your Prophet Muhammad, what he did. Well, again, I want to just show you that just like many times, you just take things out of context. You take general context versus specific context. So you're basically saying that, well, in your Prophet, you're a perfect example, and your Prophet cursed a slave girl, and then you give us the hadith here, and that is in Sahih Bukhari. And you're saying, well, look, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. In your Prophet, you have a perfect example. So you should, look, even the Quran is giving me, basically a license to curse people and so on and so forth. We're going to look at the curses. We're going to look at these incidents. Now, you're talking about, you have a perfect example, the verse of you have a perfect example in the Prophet is a general verse. We know very well from the Quran that sometimes the Prophet, peace be upon him, has done some mistakes. For example, like he frowned and he turned with Abdullah ibn Maktoum. When he frowned and he turned at him when he came. And Allah told him, don't do that. Right? So from that, again, we put things in context, and we know because God told him not to do that, it also applies to us. Also, the fact that many times, I gave you the specific quotations and the verse of how a Muslim should deal when engaged in dialogue, and that is invite to the way of your Lord with beautiful preaching, and don't argue with people except with the best of manners. So this is a specific, what's called the khas, specific, and that you're looking at a general, you're quoting a general. It seems that it's quite the way of the missionaries to do that, to take things that are general, forget about the specifics that qualify the general, and just try to interpret according to what fits their own way. Then you quote this hadith to try to justify something, and then you're basically saying, I'm going to read it from here, okay, that there was an orphan girl, and you try to say, look, your Prophet, he's insulting an orphan girl. May you not advance in years. Okay, and you highlighted this, and this is why you highlighted. And basically saying that she returned to Sulema, she was weeping, and Sulema went to the Prophet and asked him, and basically, why'd you curse her? And told her, what's the curse? May you not advance in years. What a difference between what the Prophet, peace be upon him, cursed with. Even in his curses, look, it shows that he was sent as a mercy to mankind. Even if he cursed someone, what a beautiful, way of just putting, like, can you imagine versus what Sam says? What kind of words he uses, right? So basically, but the Prophet says, don't you know that I take a covenant with my Lord? I had a term with my Lord. Any human being, and I'm a human being, I make mistakes basically. I'm pleased as any human being is pleased. I lose temper just as any human being loses temper. I sometimes do things and maybe I'm not justified. So for any person from amongst my ummah whom I curse, and he is in no way deserves it, let that, O Lord, be a source of purification and purity and nearness for these people on the day of resurrection. Look at that. He prayed for people. If he curses, if he does anything, okay, in such a way that, and it's not even deserved, then let that be a source of purification for that person who received this from the Prophet. Look, what kind of, does Sam do that? So thank you, Keith, for highlighting this. Really, you have showed us that in the Prophet there's a perfect example, that if someone, and we're human, sometimes we curse, sometimes we get angry, that we could make that prayer and say, oh God, if we do that and if the person doesn't deserve it, and that person is, it's a mistake, let that be, oh Lord, a source of purification for that person, that you forgive their sins and a way of nearness to them on the resurrection. If we would follow that, if everyone would think that way, subhanAllah, right? Because he doesn't mean to, to attack people who don't deserve. He doesn't mean to make mistakes, but he will make mistakes as a human. So what a difference between that and what Sam does. What a difference between the Prophet ﷺ and what Sam do and what other Muslims.
إن لله عبادا فطنا طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنا نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها ليست لحي وطنا جعلوها لجة واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا إن لله عبادا فطنا طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنا نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها ليست لحي وطنا